thank everybody for coming to Mr. Gaddy's service. At this point, we'll ask that everybody either silence their phones or turn them off in respect. Thank you.
At this time, the honor guard will come to display the flags. Good morning. My name is Anthony Benoit. I'm the pastor of Faith Summit Church in Gerald, Texas. I want to welcome friends of the family and all the co-workers that have come to support the family at this time in their life. We're here to celebrate the life of Randolph Scott Gaddy, who was a fine young man, and he would be truly missed. Let's bow our heads in prayer this morning. Heavenly Father, we've come to you on this rainy day, and we thank you for the rain. But Lord, we just ask you that you would bless this celebration of life for Scott. May the stories that are shared this morning, may your presence be revealed in the hearts and the lives of people today. And Lord, just comfort the family, I ask right now, God. And Lord, we just cry out to you for your mercy, for your grace, for your help, Almighty God. We ask this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. The family has picked out a song, the instrumental version, by Post Malone. Never heard of him before, so that's a different name, okay? Is he Kid the Car Malone? I don't know, but the song is called Stay. As a baby, Scott was quiet and shy. He did not speak much and always appeared to be studying things, trying to figure out things, and became quite, later on in life, a conversationalist. He also developed a great sense of humor and became a prankster. He once fixed his brother a bowl of cereal, half Cocoa Puffs and half dry dog food. And he let him eat all of it. Wow. One Christmas, Scott went through all the presents under the tree, scratching Max's name off the gift tags and adding his own name. It was important to us for our children to be involved in outside activities, so we started the boys off in t-ball. That didn't last long because it was just too boring. They tried football and really enjoyed it, but when they moved from the Hutto ISD to Gateway College Prep, where there wasn't a football program, they joined the track team. Then Scott found the sport he loved, lacrosse. Scott played for the Gateway George College Prep for the 6 years, and after high school, he attended Texas State University and continued his lacrosse career with the Bobcats. Also, he met Lindsay at Texas State. Scott had an extra ticket to a Post Malone concert and asked her if she wanted to go. She did, and they have been together ever since. In his senior year, Scott started looking for jobs in his career field. Scott's first criminal justice-related job was a corrections officer. Every time we would see him, he would talk about his job, and we could feel his passion for the job. He would tell us, "I can do this. I can be a warden one day." Scott graduated from Texas State in May 2023 and decided to stay as a corrections officer. In the next few weeks, he was scheduled to be promoted to sergeant. He made plans to propose to Lindsay in November. He wanted to marry her and have a precious family. He was also excited about becoming an uncle soon and was eager to meet his little niece. But just as he was brought into this world unexpectedly, he left it just as suddenly. On Wednesday morning, October the 8th, our sweet son, Randolph Scott Gaddy, was taken from us. Scott touched many people's lives. He was always making you laugh. And Randolph Scott also basically was there for everybody. He will always be in our hearts. Scott is survived by his mothers, Gina and Mary Gaddy, his girlfriend, Lindsay Laura, his sister and brother-in-law, Jessica and Dakota Hatcher, his brother and sister-in-law and soon-to-be niece, Max, Katie, and Margaret Gaddy, his grandmothers, Barbara Gaddy, Randy, and Emila Appel, his great-uncle Gary and Aunt Gail, his uncles and aunts, and Scott and Francis Gaddy, Greg and Christy Gaddy, Eric and Monica Appel, Hugh and Catherine Wright, Sharon Appel, Jason and Kitty Valentes, Patrick and Veronica, and cousins Wesley and William, Barrett, Justice and Jacob Appel, Crystal Ames and Christina and Luke Wright, Connor, Cole, Morgan, and William Valentes, and Aiden and Ethan Paradise. That was a mouthful. As we look to the scriptures for encouragement, I just want you to know that God understands what you are going through. And he knew there's a young man by the name of David in the scriptures who wrote this psalm. It's called the Shepherd's Psalm, and it's about comfort and help in time of need. Verse 1 says this: "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, and your rod and your staff, they do comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the very presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, and my cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Then in the New Testament, John chapter 14, Jesus is preparing his disciples to leave this world by dying on the cross for the sin of every man and woman on the planet. And he says this in verse 1, let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. And Thomas, a disciple, always doubted what Jesus said, even though he saw all the miracles. He saw every miracle that Jesus did. He says, Lord, how can we know the way? In verse 6, John chapter 14, Jesus says this. He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. I had the privilege of meeting with Mary and Gina yesterday to discuss the life of Scott. And he was a hoot. He really was. As a young infant, Scott could not speak until he was 2 years old. But when he did, he started putting phrases together automatically. He also had a hidden musical talent. When they went to church at the age of 4 or 5 years old, when the band, the choir director was directing the band, there was Scott helping them out. He was an assistant. And of course, you know by now, he was a prankster, mixing the Cocoa Puffs with dog food. I got to try that with my grandkids one day. But there's a story they told me yesterday about a witch and how you can go into a bathroom or to a room. And I remember in Kentucky, I'm a Kentucky boy, going into this story at school that we heard that if you go into the bathroom at midnight and you turn off all the lights and look in the mirror and you say, Bell Witch 3 times, she'll reach out and scratch your face. Of course, I believed it. Nothing ever happened. Well, the Texas version is just a little bit different. Jessica had a friend she had over, and she had heard about this witch appearing in the room. So she told Scott, she said, Scott, I'm going to go in that room, me and my friend. Don't let us out for any reason. And Scott says, okay. So they go in there, and I'm not sure what the words that she used, but nothing happened. And when it came time to get out, Scott probably loud and they said, nope. And he did not let them out. And they screamed, they hollered, and Mary and Gina both said, boy, he got in big time trouble for that. But they asked for it, okay? And this is kind of crude, so I hope you bear with me with this, but they had a nickname for Scott, the Fart Meister. But you never heard a preacher say that at a funeral before, have you? And also, there was another story called the HP story, the hot pepper story. I'm not going to tell that story, but it talks about a story south of the border, and I'll stop there. He loved to play lacrosse and was the flop meister as well. He taught his teammates how to flop. For those of you who are not familiar with the flop method, is when in basketball or football, someone hits you and you pretend they knocked you over, and you're trying to get a foul called on them. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And Scott had developed the art of flopping, and he taught his teammates the same thing. But 9 times out of 10, he was flagged against that. So I bet he couldn't flop more than LeBron James. Anyway, that's another story there. He loved being with his friends. He liked playing games, pumpkin carving, and camping. His favorite movie was Interstellar with Matthew McConaughey. He liked it so much that he had tattooed in Morse code Interstellar on his arm. He was passionate about his work. He was a correctional officer. And by the way, thank you for all you do for us. You keep us safe. And he treated the inmates with respect. He wanted to be the warden of a prison one day. He would transport inmates back and forth, and he will be missed by one and all. Quite a young man. Now we have a song titled Cornfield Chase. At this time, the family has asked 5 speakers to come and share stories about Scott. And Jessica, you want to come first? Or Max? Okay.
Best friends forever. I don't remember when we started saying that to each other. Maybe we always said it to each other, and that's why I can't remember when it started. It's hard to think of my first memory with Scott because it feels like he was always there. Every day there was something new that we would do together. Sometimes it was catching frogs and putting them in a pickle jar. And sometimes it was sitting behind a pew at Palm Valley throwing crayons down the stained glass window during the service. And Mama would drag us out and beat our ass and bring us in. Mowing our uncle's yard or playing zombie tag in our neighborhood. Scott and I shared a bedroom for a long time, and I don't think that it ever stayed clean. I was always, and I still am, afraid of the dark. And Scott would let me sleep in his bed, and we would play games to fall asleep, like mixing 2 words into one. If there's like an item in the room, like a fan and a carpet, and you'd say "farpet," and you'd have to guess what the 2 words were, or saying a jumble of words, like I don't know, and saying it was our cat Mew Mew's. It was really weird. We would lay on the opposite ends of the bed and kick each other under the covers until we couldn't stop laughing. Even when we had our own bedrooms, he would still let me sleep in his room. He had a twin pull-out bed that I slept on my entire year of high school, my senior year of high school, and that was funny. Everything was always a competition. Who could carry the vacuum cleaner up the stairs the fastest, or who won more manly man contest. Scott and I did track and cross country together, and when he joined lacrosse, I was very jealous because I didn't want him to be better than me at anything, so I joined too. Of course, he was a lot better than me, but I would never admit it to him. I always said it was incomparable because I played defense and he played attack. But it was pretty obvious. Our senior year, Scott and Gideon racked up like 500 combined points or something, and I was tying for the most penalties in the district. I loved playing with Scott. It always felt nice when I was able to get the ball on defense and give it to him. I always felt very certain he would score, and he always did. I loved watching him play in college. It was a lot more physical than high school, but he made it look easy. It looked like he could run through anyone. He was so big. I used to always be taller than Scott until one day he got taller than me. And he was so happy about it too. He posted about it on Instagram, about how he was the better twin now. I loved doing everything with Scott. On our 16th birthday, Uncle Scott gave us a Crown Vic and the blue Dodge Ram we had grown up riding around in. The truck, which I passionately refer to as Truckee, is a stick shift. We didn't know how to drive it at first, so we stuck to the Crown Vic, and eventually Mommy and Mama took me to the Gateway parking lot and taught me how to drive it, and then I said that the truck was mine. Eventually, the Crown Vic crapped out, and we sold it, but not before I rear-ended my mom's truck in the parking lot that Scott had driven to school that day. But we fixed it and sold it, and then it became time for Scott to learn how to drive the truck. So I took him to the Gateway parking lot and taught him how to drive it. And he would dump the clutch, but he would give it enough gas to keep it from stalling, and then the truck would buck like a horse. And I have a cross and a St. Michael's shield hanging from the rear view, and it would just slap the window, you know, and I thought it was gonna break the window. And eventually he got it down, and he even swore that he drove the truck better than me. That pissed me off so bad. I was like, I taught you how to drive this truck. I still have my truck, and I was planning on having him help me fix it up one day. AC still does not work. We always got into a lot of trouble, ding-dong ditching, or racing his car and my truck after work. Goofing off in class, and messing with people all the time. Scott did Avid in middle school, and he was in Miss Hartline's class, and he took a box of pencils, they're like pre-sharpened, and he just like swung it up so they all stuck in the ceiling, and Miss Hartline was really upset. One time in Mr. Schramm's class, Mr. Schramm pulled us out into the hallway and just asked if I knew why I was out there, and Scott was too, and I was like, no, I don't know. And he told me, well, then Scott starts messing up immediately. And apparently Scott had logged onto my computer and copied my assignment, and just changed not the font, but the color to red. and submitted it. And Mr. Schramm didn't even give him a 0. He gave him a 50, and Scott never. And Scott always said, I don't know why he never gave me a 0. I love Scott, and I think he always knew how much I loved him, and I know that he loved me too. He decided that 18 years of being hip to hip was not enough, and gave in to me begging for him to come to Texas State with me, our college. We were dorm roommates. We have the same degree. We lived in an apartment together, and sometimes we would go into the parking lot and throw a football with each other or play lacrosse, and it would hit people's cars. I miss how simple life felt back then. We worked at Chick-fil-A together and had a lot of long nights with each other. We would always drive to work together, and we had a fart corner in the lobby. So if we were working in the front of the house, we would run over and fart in the corner away from the customers. And there was like a dustpan or something over there, so you would smack it on the wall. But we did everything together. I always thought that we would. I thought we would have kids at the same time and name our boys after each other. I thought we would sit around more fires and drink beer. I thought we would get old together and make fun of each other for whatever problems we would have by then. I thought I would watch him get married or have kids or make a lot of money. I was hoping. My entire life has been with Scott. And what sucks is it feels short, 22 years was not enough. I wish he could still make fun of me for crying after getting dumped by a girl. Or tell me something cool about what he was doing or learning. If y'all know Scott and I, then you know that we even have the same favorite movie, Interstellar. And that tattoo he has on his arm, it actually means stay in Morse code. And I don't remember what birthday, it might have been our 20th or our 19th. We went to the beach and we would play this game. It's called What Are the Odds? And you just say, I just asked, well, what are the odds you got to get a tattoo? And we were drunk as hell. And he was like 1 out of 100. And so we went 3, 2, 1, and we both said 47. And so Scott left and came back with this tattoo on his bicep. And that was cool. But Interstellar is our favorite movie. It's about a guy, Matthew McConaughey. He has to leave Earth because Earth is dying pretty much, and he has to go into space and figure something out to try and save the planet and find a new planet. But the problem is he has kids that he leaves on Earth. And I guess when you're out there, I don't know, I'm a criminal justice major. I guess when you're out there, time distorts, and so he's aging a lot slower than his children are. And there's a big climax in the movie where he goes into a black hole, and he's able to send a message back in time to his daughter with this equation to save the planet. And eventually she finds it on this watch that he had given her. And she realizes that it's her dad. Somehow he gets back, and she's still alive, but he has aged a lot slower than his daughter, and they reunite on her deathbed, and she tells him that she knew he was her ghost, sending her messages from out there, and helping her out. But she tells him to go because no parent should have to watch their own child die. I think that Scott will always be my ghost, watching me from above and sending me messages that I need. I will always look up into the sky at night and talk to him. I will wake up every day and wonder what he's up to. I will talk to him every night, and I will teach my children about him. I will wake up, and I will go to sleep, and I will wake up, and I will go to sleep, and I will wish he was here every day for the rest of my life. I will be angry my children will never meet their Uncle Scott. I will cry every birthday for the rest of my life. I will beg God for a dream with Scott in it every night, and I will feel like half of me is missing forever. I pray he is watching over all of us, and I pray he knows that I miss him forever. When my grandfather passed away, Papa Apple, at his funeral, at the graveside service, they were lowering his casket, and we watched our great Uncle Gary say goodbye to his brother, and Scott said that he never wanted to have to bury me. And now I am here, and I'm going to have to bury him. I know that I will never be the same. It's impossible to be. My big brother will always be the most important hero in my life. I know that every day that passes without him will hurt, but I also know that it's one more day closer to eternity in heaven with him. I will miss you every day, Scott. I will never be the same. I will always be your brother, and I will love you always. You are my best friend forever. Thank you. This isn't my fault.
Did Scott irritate you by slapping you on the back? I forgot to mention that. Okay. All righty. All right, who's next?
Before I start the story about the witch, the reason he got in so much trouble is because I ended up peeing my pants. Okay. Oh, man. Your job as a big sister is simple. You are their biggest bully, but also their biggest supporter. You are the person who they call to bitch about mom when she's being unreasonable. You let them sleep in your room when they're scared. You tickle their back until they fall asleep, but that takes forever because you keep stopping because your arm is cramping. You turn around to go pick up wine, even though you are already pulling into the driveway just because they ask you to. You make streaming accounts and give them access knowing they're going to run your card and sometimes put you in the negatives, but you never tell them. But you never tell them because you take that second day of the 48-hour rental to also watch it. You make them give you $5 for your leftovers until they get smart enough to know that you aren't going to eat them anyway, so they just take them. You clean their room and then gaslight them into cleaning your room, knowing damn well your room is way messier. You protect them, you comfort them, you are their greatest friend, and you keep all of their secrets. Dear Scott, looking through pictures this past week, I realized that you never told me no, even when you probably should have. Whether that be getting the Justin Bieber haircut, exclusively wearing Vans because they are the elite shoe, letting me pick your new school clothes for the year, watching Sinister with me every year on my birthday, even though you thought I was weird that I wanted to watch a horror movie on my birthday, letting me cry on the phone and tell you all about how much I love Joe Jonas the first time I saw him in concert, taking me to go see Post Malone on my birthday, even though it was a date. Driving nearly an hour away from Mom's house just to get Hawaiian Bros and a cherry cream slush from Sonic. Holding my hand in the car when I called for a seat, buddy. Thank you for always being my yes man. I'm gonna miss you telling me I look skinny even though I hadn't lost any weight because you know I'm self-conscious about my body. I'm gonna miss having sleepovers. I'm gonna miss holding your hand in the car and at the movies because even at 25 I need a seat, buddy. I'm gonna miss your aggressive hugs. You asking me if I did something different with my hair, even though the last time I saw you it was pink and then it was green. I'm gonna miss you calling me to ask me a healthcare question, even though I told you multiple times I was not a nurse, but you chose to believe otherwise. I'm gonna miss you going through my closet and stealing all of Dakota's clothes. Telling me that I just had to be there when describing a song that you heard live, because you thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'm gonna miss you calling me at 4 a.m. when I was in Ireland to tell me how excited you and Lindsay were about going to go see Post Malone, only ending up Lindsay getting too drunk to actually see Post Malone. I'm gonna miss watching you, Max, and Gideon throwing balls as fast as you can to see who can bowl the fastest ball. Scott got up to like 95 miles an hour once. I'm gonna miss drawing your blood and then you freaking out because how could you possibly go to lacrosse practice afterwards? I'm gonna miss calling you to help me fix my car, thinking you were a car wizard just to find out you were just watching YouTube videos. The last time I talked to you, I was at a concert with my friend Cassie. And you called me because you thought you were locked out of my HBO account. I don't have an HBO account. I use Allie's, so I said, you're probably thinking about Amazon. And he goes, oh, by the way, I owe you $3. Just because he knew I was gonna see that he bought a movie. I'm gonna miss your laugh, your big brown eyes, your perfect nose, your crooked pinkies, your terrible taste in music besides Posty. But most of all, I'm gonna miss you. Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions in time and space. Dr. Amelia Brand. I'll see you again in the stars, Scott. I love you. Jess, your forever sea buddy.
Who's next?
A couple months ago, Scott stood on this very stage, this very spot, and he talked about his grandfather. And I asked him before we came in, I said, oh, are you going to speak? And he looked at me, he said, no, I'm not strong enough. And then when he got up here, he just made everyone laugh. I don't think I can make you laugh. But I asked him, I said, what made you go up there? And he said, I saw my brother up there, and it gave me the strength. And Scott was always jealous of Max, but in a good way. He would say Max was never afraid to be himself, and he didn't care if he liked something and others didn't. And he would cry all the time because he felt so horrible that he didn't defend Max when they were little, and he wished he could take it back. And he regretted it every day. The best thing he was a twin, and he let everyone know it. How me and Scott first met was in our dorm room, and I sat next to him, and he looked at me, he said, do you like Post Malone? That's the first thing he said to me. And I said, yes, I do. And he said, I have an extra ticket. And at the moment, I had $100 in my bank account. And I said, I'll give you $100 for it. And he looked to his brother and he said, please, just like that, please. And so we went to Post Malone, and he got very mad at me that night because I kept pushing the whole aisle to the left. And then a couple days later, Mom, cover your ears. I was going out to a club, and I'd gotten super drunk, and I was texting Scott. I said, you need to come out, you need to come out. And he had just got home from lacrosse practice, and he didn't want to go. And somehow he changed his mind, he got in the shower, and he came out. And we went to this club, and we got wasted. And that was our first kiss. If y'all know, it's the mark, and it was Latin night. It's crazy. And then the second time we seen Post Malone was a year ago. And again, I got way too drunk. And I made it through 2 songs of the opener. And I cried the next morning, and I cried, and I cried, and he lied to me, and he would always say, like, oh no, I saw Post Malone. We saw him, Lindsay. Don't you remember we saw him? Only for a week later to tell me that he didn't see him. And I felt so bad that I spent another $1,000 on tickets for the exact same seats, and we had to drive to Houston to see him. And that was a year ago, and he kept those tickets in his wallet every day. And 4 months after the first time we went to Post Malone, we moved in together. Crazy, right? We weren't even seeing each other every day. The pandemic had happened. We were seeing each other once every 2 weeks. And I don't know how we just decided to move in together, but it just kind of happened. And I remember the first time crying to him about how I just didn't feel good. And he took me to go get Ray's ice cream. And then he sat me on a bench downtown, and we counted blue and red cars together. I'm going to miss us dancing in our living room to the Up song because it was our favorite thing to do. And I'm going to miss how every morning before he would go to work, he would give me a forehead kissy. That's what we would call him. And he would always say, I love you. And I knew it when he would wake me up because he had just sprayed his cologne, and I'd always go because it smelled like alcohol. And then on the weekends, he would always wake me. I'd always wake up before him. And whenever he would wake up, he'd make me fall back asleep just so he can tap me on the shoulder and wake me up. And he'd always say, good morning to the most beautiful girl in the world. And he would always call me and Cooper his little family. And we would miss Cooper so much that one time when we were in Virginia, there was a song by Machine Gun Kelly called Lonely. And we would always say, we were so lonely without our dog. We'd replace whatever you with Coop. And we would cancel on friends a lot. We felt bad, but we just wanted to be with each other. And we would look at each other and we would say, it could be us forever, and we would be okay with that. And if you knew Scott, that boy loved Facebook Marketplace. That man made me buy 2 cars off of Facebook Marketplace. We had first bought our XJ Jeep because I begged him. I told him it was my dream car. I've always wanted one. And he found one for $800. And he went to go pick it up. They delivered it to our apartment. And we would sit in it. And we would just be we would say, imagine us just driving this down the thing. And imagine us going to the beach with this. And then I was at work one day, and he found a Porsche. And he begged me. He begged me for $1,000 because he really wanted this damn Porsche. And I said fine. And the next day he went and he bought it. And he would always tell me how someone on the lacrosse team would be like, we got to go take that thing. You got to fix it. We got to drive it down a windy road and go to a winery. And I remember that. Most of the family knows this story, but he's going to hate me for this one. But last November, he had terrible food poisoning. Terrible. He was at work, and he was just throwing up, and he got home. Somehow, he made it through all of that shift. He got home, he laid in bed, he would drink water, he'd go to the restroom, throw up. And so I took him to the ER. I said, we're going to the ER. And in the ER, they had him hooked with 4 IVs, and he was just passed out on there. He was like, this feels so nice. And then I was like, okay, we got to go get your prescription. So I was driving him to HEB, and at this point in time, HEB did not have a restroom. They had porta potties on the outside. And Scott farted in my car. And then he felt weird, and then he farted again. And at the second time he farted, he put his hand in his pants, stuck it out, and there was poop on his hand. And I'm looking at it, I smell it, and I'm like, oh my God, Scott. Keep in mind, my car, I'm sorry, Mom, this is the car I have has little heated seats, little tiny holes. And I look at him, and I'm pissed off. I'm like, oh my God, I drop him off right in front of the porta potties, big old brown stain. Big old brown stain on his pants. And he's in the porta potty. I'm in my car about to throw up from this smell. And I had an extra pair of Scott's shorts in my car because the day before I had dropped him off food, but I wasn't allowed to go into the unit without any pants on, so I had an extra pair of shorts. And I'm knocking on the porta potty, and he gets out all mad, and I'm like, you're the one that just pooped in my car. And I have another poop story. There were so many. On my birthday, I think it was my 20th birthday, me and Scott and one of my friends, we had went out to celebrate to the movies, and we were watching a movie. And at the end of the movie, me and my friend go to use the restroom. Scott stays out, and I come back out, and I'm like, oh, you didn't need to go? And he's like, no. And so then we're doing the thing, I don't know what it's called, geocaching. We're geocaching around Austin, and we're trying to find, we're in this empty field. We're trying to find this geocache, and he's like, I'm sorry, guys. He leaves his hands up his butt, and he's like about to poop on the side of the road. And he gets, I'm like lost in West Campus, like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then he gets back and he's like, I pooped a little bit in my car. He loved his job so much, and I hated his job because it took so much time away from us. But there's this one story. He was in the hospital with an inmate, and he had been there for about 16 hours, and he was hungry, and there was a cookie beside this inmate. And it had been there for hours, he claims. He'd been there for hours. And so he ate the cookie, and then the inmate wakes up, and he's like, where's my cookie? And Scott had ate it. And so the inmate started calling him the Cookie Monster. And Scott felt really bad because the inmate died like moments later, and he was like, I'm so sorry. And he also really loved lacrosse. And this past year they went to Oregon, and somehow they were in Oregon, and somehow Scott had convinced the lady in front of him to say that they were selling weed brownies. And they convinced CJ that this was a weed brownie, and CJ bought it, and he ate it before he got back on the plane. Sorry, I'm not trying to put you out there. And CJ was like, dude, this is the best brownie ever, knowing it's a regular brownie. And Scott let him, like, every time they would go to practice after that, they would be like, wasn't that so good? That was just the best, like, edible ever. And it wasn't until the banquet that Scott was like, that was just a regular brownie. And everyone knew but the guy that ate it. When I met Scott at Texas State, but I really wanted to go to UT because I'm from the Brenham area, College Station area, so I hated A&M, and the only way to stick it to everybody in my town was to go to the rival school. So I really wanted to go to UT, and when I found out I went to UT, I was at work, and I FaceTimed Scott, and he came to pick me up in this decked out, like, Focus that was just burnt orange, flags everywhere. Like, he literally looked like Bevo, like. And we would always have these moments where we would be driving home from Georgetown, and I'd look at the Austin skyline, and I'd just cry because I was so proud that I got into UT, and he would get so annoyed with me to be like, babe, are you having another UT moment? But one thing that will always keep close to my heart was that I was scared of a lot of things, and I still am scared of a lot of things, and I was scared of even jumping into the San Marcos River. Every time I'm scared of jumping into that river, and Scott would always tell me, like, you need to have courage. And Scott would always say, I'm scared too, Lindsay, but for 1 second, I don't think, and I just do it. And he'd always be so proud of me after I did something I was so scared of. A couple weeks ago, we were having dinner at his parents' house, and we were talking about Uncle Scott and Aunt Fran, and we were saying how in love Uncle Scott was with Aunt Fran, and how he just loves her with everything. And later that night, he said, like, it reminds me of me and you, Lindsay. Like, I'm just so in love with you. You know, I don't know what to do. And every Sunday night, we would have this little tradition where we would put on lo-fi fruit musics, and we would just soul gaze into each other's eyes, and we'd have this little dance move. I don't know if y'all know. I don't know if y'all seen it. Yeah. And the day before, it was like 9:30, and Scott picked up Taco Bell for dinner. And he got really upset at our dog, Cooper, because Cooper had taken out his taco and ate it. And I got into the car, and he was just pissed off at our dog, and he was like, no, don't say hi to him. And then I gave him my black bean crunch wrap only for him to complain that it wasn't good, and he ended up calling the Taco Bell and was like, why would you even serve this? And then he put on this manifesting TikTok for us because he loved TikTok. And we sat in his car and we manifested about our life. And at the end of the manifestation, we opened our eyes and we said, what'd you manifest about? And he said, he manifested coming home and having 2 twin boys with me and living in this big house and being warden, and it was taken from us so quick. The week of all Scott could talk about was being promoted to sergeant. And he would say, I'm just waiting for them to get desperate so they can promote me. He said, I'll know as soon as they start looking for another transport officer. He was just patiently waiting. I would always get upset when they would promote someone else instead of Scott because I knew Scott was the best worker there, but I was being biased. I just want to say, congratulations, you overachiever. You got promoted before the 2-year mark, and I'm so proud of you. I told you before that I wanted to be there when you got pinned. I didn't know that I was going to be the one pinning you, but I'm so proud of you, and I will always be proud of you. I just want to tell everybody, if you love someone, whether it's a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a husband, a wife, a partner, tell them you love them. Hold them extra tight. Don't fight about stupid things that don't matter. Don't waste time. Say that I love you. Give the forehead kisses. Dance in the rain. Dance in your living room. Because in the end, when you lose that person, every candle, every flower, every card is not going to make up for the fact that the only thing you have left is this hole in your life where that person was. And it's just going to consume you. Thank you, Scott, for the way you make me feel. Thank you for the constant patience you gave to me even when I was having a bad day. Thank you for the light you bring into my life. Thank you for all the laughs, smiles, and butterflies you leave in my stomach when we're together. But most importantly, thank you for being you, and thank you for being my best friend. I will love and miss you all day, every day, forever.
whoever's next. Okay.
I first met Scott was my first friend I made at Gateway. My first friend and my only friend for a very long time. And I remember he loved playing games. He taught me so many games. He was the one who taught me the doorknob and safety. If you fart, you have to say doorknob, or else the other person can run and hit you until they touch the doorknob. And he would hit me so hard. He also played this game where we would put a boot in between our legs, and we had a hacky sack, and we would try and throw it into the boot, and we always missed, and we hit each other in the nuts, and yeah, sometimes we do it on purpose, but he loved his games. He was a really great friend to me. He took care of me. I remember the first gifts he got me. It was this lacrosse stick, and I was super excited to have it, and I was talking about it for a long time, and it was really expensive. I just could not afford it. And he surprised me one day after school. He pulled up and he said, "Look at what I got you." He was so proud of it. And he took care of me. There was another time our school did a Ren Fair, and this year we were all dressed up as different countries. I was France, he was Japan, and he had a really cool kimono on with these really neat sandals. And I just remember thinking, like, oh, I want to wear that. And so he let me wear it. We traded costumes, and this was in the middle of the day, and I totally forgot that I had to do a performance in my costume. And so he did it for me. He did that performance for me. And he always had my back. We called ourselves G Cubed, me, Scott, and Max. And we're G Cubed on the fields, G Cubed in class. And it was always the three of us. It's always the three of us. And he was, our school was really small. I think our graduating class was only 70. And so all of us with the last names with G, we were always in the same class. And so me and Scott were in the same class, always. And when you look in the yearbook, it's Scott, Max, me. If you look at any picture of us, it's Scott, Max, me. And it's always the three of us together. And we drifted a bit after high school ended. And he was, every time he'd reach out to me, he'd always have something new he was doing. He told me about the Jeep. He was super excited to build that for you, Lindsay. He told me about the Porsche. He was so excited to work on the Porsche. And every time I talked to him, it was like there's no time passed between us. And I know the next time I see him, it'll be the same thing. Like no time has passed between us. I'm so excited to have all these stories and all these things to tell him. And I know he'll have some stuff to tell me too. And I love you, Scott. And I'm going to miss you forever.
one more person that was going to share today. Okay. You know, a lot of people come ask me why things happen in life. And sometimes, I've been a pastor for 38 years, I say, I don't know. In fact, in 1979, I lost a son. He was stillborn. He was perfect in every way. And for the longest time, I would ask God, why? And I didn't understand. So I had to learn to trust in my God. And I remember when we had the service for him in Montrose, Colorado, the church brought us food, and they prayed for us, and they reached out to us, and they comforted us. And Paul writes in Corinthians chapter 1, verse 3, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of all mercies and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort those who are in any trouble, with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God." The best comfort you can do, the best thing you can do for this family is to comfort them. Pray for them, be there for them, reach out to them, because they're going to need your support. If you're a friend of theirs, to keep reaching out to them and bless them and let them know it doesn't stop here. It keeps on. Be there for them. And God does care. No one understands like Jesus Christ. And Mary and Gina has asked me to read this letter, so I'll do the best I can. Being given the gift of parenthood and taking that journey with the love of my life and kids has been amazing. It's everything that we ever wanted, our kids, our life. Our world changed in an instant when Scott was taken from this world. As most of you know, Scott has a big sister, Jessica, and a twin brother, Max, who are lost, devastated, angry, and lonely without their beautiful brother. Gina and I are really struggling with the finality of never seeing him alive again and the loss of his future. We have a huge hole in our hearts and feel deeply empty. I always thought we would have more time together. I'm certain he did too, because he once wrote, "I wonder if my kids would think my music is ancient, or how we wish you could have children." I'm so thankful for all of the great memories our family had together. I hope that we can all continue to have lots of family functions and get through this loss together, and not let this tragedy cause us to isolate or tear us apart. He would want us to continue our traditions of holidays, birthdays, and other celebrations together, even though it will be painful without him. I know he loved you all. Please lift each other up. That's what he would have done for us. At this time, we're going to have a special song titled, "I Can Only Imagine." I think the honor God's going to come and do their presentation. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay. I'm sorry? Oh, okay.
To say that Scott was nothing more of a truly special person is definitely an understatement, y'all. What I would say, I would definitely have a takeaway for Scott is that he was more than just a brother, a friend. More than that, he was a truly virtuous, loving, God-fearing man. And every day this man would always come and uplift anybody and everybody to work. He would look out for the small people that didn't have much of a voice. And every day he would always remember his closest people every day. And to be honest, all of us in his world are close to him. No matter where Scott went, he would immediately be the show. We would, as what he would say, be the Riz. I can't forget the first few days I met Scott. We all know each other by our names. To him, I was Lopez, and to me, he was Gaddy. But there were days where, honestly, I couldn't have dreamed of a better coworker, a better friend, and more than anything, a person that I just always looked up to, no matter where I was every day. We both just had that thing about each other every day, that we all wanted to see each other succeed, do the thing that mattered to us most every day, and that was always bring in our best work every day. I'll never forget those days as well with Scott, in which this one time after work, we all went to IHOP and we all just ate together, and it was a very special honor, distinction, and privilege to be able to then go to his apartment afterwards. I met Lindsay for the first time, and I'll never forget Lindsay's first question, "Are you really the one that drives from San Antonio every day?" And I was like, "Yes, I am." To say that it was a privilege working with Scott again is such an understatement, because every day I would see him and every day we would just collide into each other, our sizes every day. To him, I always saw him as Superman, and to me, I always see myself as Batman. We both have our set ways every day. And more importantly, no matter if we were at work or we're at home, we would always bother each other every day, much to some people's chagrin. But of course, if there was just one thing I will say from about Scott, besides that, I was just so proud of him this last year, because he had just graduated from Texas State. He had so much that he was looking forward to. The man had stars in his eyes every single day, no matter where he was at. I mentioned he always just had the energy that carried all of us right here. And whenever he was always wondering who was going to be promoted next as sergeant, I always promised him I would never take it if he wasn't going to get it any day, because to be a sergeant, you have to put in 2 years of correctional work, wherever it may be, and Scott knew I had it, and I just told him every day I wouldn't take it unless if he had it. If he stood there for many years, days, months, no matter what, I would have never taken it before he did. And every day I would immediately call him after work whenever we were relieved, because this was around the time he was on transport, and I would always call him just to say the word. And more importantly, whenever we called each other, we would always have a distinct little signature hello, and that would be one of these two, either ah, and more importantly, hey. Such lovely memories about each other, I swear. And he just made our world so much better every day. And there were just days right here that he would easily be frustrated, and we'd both vent to each other like how hard our days were and how much we just wished we were onto our weekend just relaxing. But, you know, besides that, there's just so many people from our MTC family that showed up for him, and to many people that knew Gaddy, we all have everything in common with him right here, that we just loved everything he brought to us every day. He just was the galvanizing force that just made us all dream that we could all reach to our goals. And I swear, if I just met somebody the same heart, mindset, and ambition as Gaddy, and we had 10 of those, like we say in our pre-service classes, there's this one video where it says if you meet a group of 10 people, you can be that person that makes a difference. And for sure, Gaddy made that difference every single day. I will say though, I'll never forget this one time where him and Max prank called me one day because we had just found this one inmate that was making such threats to us, and I literally just couldn't believe that I've been pranked. But that was one thing I loved about Gaddy. He was such a pranker, and to say that it was so special too, because I'll never forget when he told me he was a twin just like me. I said, "Are you the older one or are you the younger one?" And he said he was the older one, and I was like, "No way, I'm the younger one." And ever since then, I will say twins have sometimes the same split minds right there. They'll do anything that the other twin does, and anything Gaddy did, I would do too. I just can't believe it right now, y'all. Gaddy was just everything to a lot of us, and to me, these nights have just been really hard, just wondering what he's up to, wondering how his family's been holding up. I just thought it was such a very truly amazing moment when I was given the word that Gaddy was considered me one of the closest people at the job, and ever since then, I just wanted to just hold his memory. I can't believe it's been a week, but it's felt more like an eternity ever since that he had been reunited up there. And to the day that I run into Gaddy again will be a truly magnificent day. I don't care if it's in my dreams or off in the afterlife. I just wish to remember him, and more importantly, to the people that couldn't make it here. My friend Bencomo asked me to say on his behalf that Gaddy was truly the most loving person, that he thought it was so amazing that he would stick up for him. Rather than give him a lecture, he would find any way he can to make his days easier. For the small people, as I mentioned, it's the thing Gaddy would always do the most. And once again, thank you all. I really wish the best.
Now we'll play the song, I Can Only Imagine.
I can only imagine what it will be like when I walk by your side. I can only imagine what my eyes will see when your face is before me. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory, what will my heart feel? Will I dance for you, Jesus? Or in awe of you be still? Will I stand in your presence? Or to my knees will I fall? Will I sing hallelujah? Will I be able to speak at all? I can only imagine. I can only imagine. I can only imagine when that day comes and I find myself standing in the sun. I can only imagine when all I do is forever worship you. I can only imagine, yeah. I can only imagine. Surrounded by your glory,
At this time, I want to speak a blessing over you today. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you, and may he give you peace.
At this point, we do thank everybody for coming to Mr. Randolph's Gaddy service. The family will need your thoughts, your love, and your prayers in the upcoming months. We are going to have everybody start, if you would care to pay your respects to Mr. Gaddy. We'll start with the people in the front foyer, and then the people on the sides. If you will follow Courtney, she'll lead you. You're welcome to come, pay your respects, and then if you will follow the other sides outward. The graveside has been rescheduled to 2 p.m. at Oddfellow Cemetery, but you are welcome to go and have a reception with the family at their home at 31120 Polo Court. We do thank you all for coming.